Well, the real world Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tire season may have kicked off last weekend at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, but we still have one more race to do here in the virtual world in iRacing. It's the TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries here from World Wide Technology Raceway. My name's Rob Howden, joined by Joshua Lee and Greg DeGeorges here this evening. And Joshua, we are under the lights at one of my favorite facilities in the country, a very challenging oval, 1.2 miles. This is going to be a lot of fun because this is the Road to Indy eSeries Invitational. Not only do we have our RTI prospects and our RTI pro drivers, we got a handful of graduates here this weekend that people who love racing will know.
Yeah, and this track always just seems to provide that exciting action that we're looking for. It has the slipstreams. It's not a road course. Of course, it's an oval, so it's only high speed on these cars, and they can just hold that throttle down for as long as they possibly want around this racetrack. They don't really need to lift unless there's an incident happening in front of them. So that's going to create for some interesting Daytona-like style racing that, of course, NASCAR saw just a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to see it here in the open wheel virtual world.
Again, under the lights tonight, 65 degrees, the ambient temperature in the virtual racetrack here, 1.25 miles, as I said. This racetrack, very interesting. Turn 1 and 2 a lot tighter than turns 3 and 4, but turn 1 and 2 banked a little more, 9 degrees, 7 degrees through 3 and 4. A very challenging racetrack for sure. And again, Joshua, we talked about the fact we have our RTI prospects, the young drivers trying to work their way into the Road to Indy. Plus, we have all our Road to Indy regulars. We've got some really cool drivers joining us here this weekend as well, this evening. James Davis, the former Indy 500 starter and a runner-up in the Indy Lights program a number of years ago, a couple of years running in the NASCAR program. Connor Daly, IndyCar driver here, as well as is R.C. Enerson, and multi-time Indy 500 starter and Indy Lights champion Sage Karam, also with us tonight.
Of course, a star-studded lineup here, Rob, and I'm interested to see how they're going to fare against the drivers that are more akin to the virtual world.
Well, the interesting thing is these drivers, the ones that we have, really like running here in iRacing. They do a number of different series. I have a feeling that you're going to see all of our pro drivers stepping up pretty big time tonight. Our racers here from the Road to Indy have their hands full with some really talented professional drivers who know how to get behind the wheel of their sim. So this is going to be a fun night under the lights for sure. It's a challenging racetrack. Greg DeGeorges from Symmetric Driver Performance Labs. What are your keys to the race tonight?
Hello. Yeah, it does feel like a little while since our last round, but I've really been looking forward to this one to wrap up the season. Here's what I think we should all be watching for tonight. Now, even though this is sim racing, it still requires quite a bit of precision and a whole lot of commitment to be fastest around here. The fixed setup is fairly neutral to best suit the widest range of driving styles possible, while also reducing the likelihood of any unforced errors, but laying down a perfect lap is a very fine dance here for drivers, and it requires huge commitment. It's very easy to overslow into the corners, get the line wrong on entry, forcing you to scrub too much speed. One of the reasons this oval in particular is so beloved by racers on the Road to Indy is that the corners afford multiple competitive lines around them, meaning we'll certainly see a lot of 2 and possibly even 3 wide scenarios tonight. I just hope everyone leaves a little bit of extra room for netcode. Now, next up, drivers need to get real friendly with each other, and they need to do it quickly. Now, we saw on the rounds at IRP and Road America that our RTI prospects may have felt the heat turned up when they went wheel-to-wheel for the first time with real racers in the Road to Indy. Well, guess what? That's only going to be amplified further tonight with the reintroduction of our All-Stars. You might want to think twice about firing a pass down the inside into Turn 1 when you know you're doing it to someone the likes of Connor Daly, R.C. Enerson, or Sage Karam. On the flip side, some of our RTI prospects are just as fast and fierce and are likely looking to prove something tonight, which may catch our veterans off guard. Certainly going to be an interesting dynamic to watch for. The biggest single thing to dictate tonight's racing will be the aero draft and wash. With much higher average lap speeds than IRP, the aero draft from cars ahead is going to play a big factor tonight and lead to a lot of leapfrogging on the straights. Likewise, anticipating the loss of front air in the corner should force drivers behind to try alternate lines when behind someone. If any fans watching tonight tuned in for last year's All-Star Invitational, you may remember that both of the races came down to the wire because of the huge effect that drafting had on the racing. That's my keys to the race. Back to you, Rob and Josh.
Yeah, Greg, that's awesome, man. World Wide Technology Raceway, I think we know, is one of the most challenging and most technical ovals for the Road to Indy and probably Indy Car as well, that's for sure. We appreciate the great insight. Top 6 drivers from qualifying now on the racetrack for the pole shootout. So let's head to IndyCar Ministry Chaplain Chuck Lessig for the invocation, followed by the National Anthem.
Lord, we just thank you for this already, the last e-race of this series, and the way that you're using this e-racing to bring together what I might call the generations of the road to Indy. People from the past, people present, and people from the future. We just ask a blessing over our night tonight. Let us have some fun racing and hone our skills. Lord, and just watch over us, and we just thank you for the time we've had. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
So, we buy shoes online, and socks, and shoe socks, and baby food, dog food, parrot food, gardening tools, art supplies, college classes, scarf, the scarf tube, sleeping bag suit? Yeah. So why not buy tires online? TireRack.com is North America's largest online retailer of tires. Find, buy, then have them shipped to one of our trusted independent installers for safe, easy installation. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be, online with all that other stuff.
We're back live here again at World Wide Technology Raceway. Under the lights here in the virtual world for the TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries Invitational. A number of the Road to Indy graduates have come to join us, including the likes of Sage Karam, James Davis, and Connor Daly, all part of the action here as well. R.C. Enerson as well, and it's Rob Howden here alongside Joshua Lee and Greg DeGeorgis. Qualifying just wrapping up here right now. Joshua, this could be really interesting to see who finds their way to the top, because I think starting up front is a good place to be. We're going to see a lot of side-by-side action, and once we get the grid, we'll see how it plays out. But I got a feeling this is going to be side-by-side all night long.
And take a look at the names up front. Of course, Josh Green off the heels of his win in St. Petersburg in the real world this past weekend. Victor Anderson up at the front. Mac Clark, we've seen how fast he has been with 2 race wins on the season. Interestingly enough, Rob, Alessandro Di Tullio, one of the drivers not in tonight's race. He will not continue his streak of winning at least 1 race in each of the events, but he still has 4 race wins on the season, which is an incredible season in the Road to Indy E-Series for Alessandro Di Tullio. So we'll see who else can go to victory lane tonight. Frankie Mossman with 1 win on the season as well. Matt Clark with 2. Josh Green has 1 win on this season, and he starts 3rd. He might be my pick to grab his 2nd race win of the season, specifically in race number 1, before we have that 10-field invert.
Yeah, we do know that Josh Green won in the virtual world here as well at Indianapolis Raceway Park. The Lucas Oil Raceway facility was able to win on the oval there. Scored a victory this past weekend in his debut in the Indy Pro 2000 category. But you mentioned the fact that we don't have Alessandro Di Tullio, who's been the dominant factor from the RTI Prospects Group. He's actually at a major event, major karting event, the United States Pro Kart Series, running this coming weekend at the Orlando Karting Center in Florida, and a number of the drivers working or racing that particular event. We're lucky to have and fortunate to have 15 drivers set to go. And I think it's time to look at the grid, as the drivers have wrapped up qualifying right now. And in fact, it's the Swedish driver, Victor Andersson, with the fast lap. And the number 30 machine, Victor will be running for Velocity Racing Development this year. He ends up qualifying on the pole. So an excellent job here on a very tough oval for Victor Andersson. He wins the Symmetric Driver Performance Lab Pole Position Award. Great job for Victor Anderson. 31.600 fast time around this racetrack for Anderson in that VRD number 30 on the outside of row 1. Matt Clark, who has been recently announced running for D-Force Racing in the USF Juniors program. He'll be starting on the outside, the Canadian out of Toronto with the number 26. Row 2, the winner we just talked about, Josh Green, has already won in the virtual world, and Josh has already won in the outside world as well in real life racing. As I said, at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, he'll run for Turn 3 Motorsports. And on the outside of that row, a driver who knows his way around an oval track, grew up running dirt, junior sprints, 305, 360 sprint cars. Trey Burke for Joe Dueling Autosport in the number 63, going to start on the outside of row number 2.
Back from there, Sage Karam, of course, a staple of the real world in Indy Car, will be starting in P number 5. P6 will be James Davison, another real world Indy Car and NASCAR driver to the outside of that third row. Lucas Mann for Exclusive Autosport will be starting in P number 7 on the grid. And rounding out in the top 4 rows and rounding out P8 will be Nikita Lastichkin, looking for another amazing race that he has had all season long.
Let's cap off the top 5 with a driver who has a number of IndyCar starts to his name and some Indy Lights wins as well. R.C. Enerson for Enerson Racing will start in the 9th position. Look out for the number 2 machine, the American on the inside. Outside, Ayrton Hauk for Pabst Racing, winner of the Lucas Oil School of Racing Carts to Cars Scholarship. He'll run in that program throughout this year. Also going to get behind the wheel of an F1600 this year, so a lot of development for Ayrton Hauk this year with a focus on getting in to the road to Indy. He qualifies in the 10th position. Row number 6, it'll be Connor Daly, the Ed Carpenter Racing driver for the NTT Indy Car Series. Connor, a very popular driver in the program, and will start here tonight on the outside of row number 6. On the inside, row 6. On the outside, Connor Gutting, one of the top 5 drivers from the RTI Prospects program this year. Connor Gutting Racing starting again in the 12th spot.
Only 3 more cars going to round out the grid. It's Dylan Christie who will start in P13. Jason Pribble will start P14. And Dean Dibdahl is going to round out the 15 drivers who are looking to take the green flag tonight. Relatively medium-sized field here, Rob. Not exactly the largest field we've had this season, but still looking at a great-sized field and a lot of fast drivers who are ready to go racing.
Yeah, when we're thinking about maybe some of the chaos, it might have been a little better to be able to make sure that we have some clean racing throughout the day. You can see our Corvette pace car jumping out in front of the field as we get set to go. It'll be a couple of 20-minute races here today under the lights at World Wide Technology Raceway. Of course, this track located just across the Mississippi River from St. Louis in Madison, Illinois. And we are getting set to go racing. Victor Anderson on the inside in the green VRD machine. Matt Clark, the young Canadian, on the outside in the D-Force colors. Looking forward to going oval racing here at one of the most fantastic oval tracks. 1.25 miles to come out of turn number 4. And we'll get things underway. Green, green, green. And the driver slide nicely into position early on. Anderson will lead him down into turn number 1 for the first time. Clark, though, going to the bottom of the racetrack quickly. Matt Clark to the bottom. Josh 2x2 coming through 1 and 2.
It was a very swift move from Matt Clark to try and get that race to the lead, but unfortunately he's going to be side by side for the moment as Anderson sits on the outside line. How about the diving move from Trey Burke a little bit further back as well, as sitting now to the inside or to the outside. That's Sage Karam. How about James Davison in that lime and black number 18, already moving his way up into P4. Here's the battle for the lead again as Victor Anderson's going to go back for it. 3 wide for the moment. Here comes Josh Green.
I'll throw this out there right now. The drivers that we have that are with us here tonight that are our graduates, our invitational pros, all very good at the sim. This is going to be a lot of really close racing. You can see Davis is trying to figure his way out as he is right on the gearbox of Josh Green. Drops it up maybe a half a width up the racetrack. And again, look at this. We've got essentially, 4 or 5 rows of 2x2. Luke Mann now coming to the bottom of the racetrack as well. Clark's going to stay with the high side, but we may see a move to the bottom. Trey Burke going to the bottom of the racetrack. Burke looking for a bit of the lead. Always getting a good run around the top side, and Clark gets a good run as he does. No, we're back down to the bottom of the racetrack. A little frenetic action early on here, Josh. Everybody kind of jostling, trying to find out where they need to be on this racetrack.
I believe they were almost 4 wide going into turn number 1 last time by. They are feeling aggressive up at the front. You can see them already getting around 3 wide as Davison goes to the outside line. Nikita Lastichkin going to try and gain a couple of spots. He's in a battle with Connor Daly further back. You can see the 3 wide now for the lead as to the middle line goes the number 24. That's Sage Karam starting to race up for the lead. He's going to get the lead with a great momentum push off of turn number 2. To the inside now, trying to find out, trying to cover off the spot on Josh Green. That's the 30 of Victor Anderson. Green keeps his move on the inside line and is able to hold off that number 30 machine behind. Fifth place now for Josh Green as he tries to stay up in the top 5.
Hey, Josh, you take a second to take a deep breath. We'll do that in between these sections because I literally held my breath there for a little bit. Man, these guys are going at it right now. One of the keys coming out of turn number 2 is to make sure you stay off that inner curbing. You get on that, we've seen it many times. It'll upset the car, the balance of the car. You'll see that the driver could chase the car up the racetrack a little bit. That's when we often get contact on the exit of turn number 2 when a driver's got too low down into the rumble. Tremendous racing so far, and Trey Burke up front. And they'll give Trey Burke some props. Here's a driver who came into USF 2000 last year and was really learning. Again, came from the oval ranks, came from the dirt oval ranks, and was full driver around the Nikita Lastashkin loses the inside of the racetrack, or the car on the track. He'll go around as well into 10, and that's Connor Gutting. And into turn number 1, Lastashkin lost the rear. Joshua, you can see it kind of check away a bit on him. Luckily came up the racetrack. We're still green right now, though. We do have, of course, some drivers in the pit lane, but still leaning green here right now, 3 minutes in.
Oh, and take a look at the move to the middle for Trey Burke. He barely had enough room, maybe an inch on either side, and he is going to go to the race lead. Connor Daly had just made a 3-wide move off turn 4 to grab the race lead. Now Daly's going to sit leading the outside line. To the inside goes Trey Burke. How about Sage Karam giving a little bit of a push to his Indy Car fellow driver as Josh Green makes a diving move to the inside for third. 3 wide for that third spot. RC Anderson going to go all the way to the outside, trying to take that third spot away. He will. Now a couple more drivers giving a little bit more help. That's the 18 of James Davison, now tucked in behind Trey Burke. Everything is happening up at the front right now, Rob. It's tough to watch because there's constantly diving moves, 3 wide, 4 wide even at a couple points, just trying to keep up with what's happening here at the front.
Yeah, let's ride on board here now. I think that's Trey Burke we're with here now on the bottom. He's got the Connor Daly to the top, and almost contact. You see that Burke, handful of wheel there coming into turn number 2 is it looks to be like the 18 at Davison getting down to the bottom. So we got our pro drivers up front right now, Sage Karam, Connor Daly, and James Davison. I have a feeling this is going to be one of those races that we're not going to get an opportunity to talk too much about the backstory of these drivers because they are dicing it out left and right now. And you can see kind of settling in it a little bit. Let's have a quick look at the drivers that were involved in the incident early. Dylan Christie, Connor Gutting, Ayrton Hout, and Nikita Lastashkin all involved in the incident where Lastashkin got a little wide coming into the corner. We got a replay to have a look at here, folks, and we'll see if we get a look at what happened indeed here coming into turn number 1. We'll ride on board here with Victor Anderson. He's got Nikita Lastashkin right in front. Was there contact potentially coming in? Let's see if they come in. Yeah, neither was. Yeah, it looked to be like Lastashkin had held the line, Joshua, and then rolled down a bit. In fact, let's bring Greg DeGeorgis in here. Greg, is that what you kind of saw? As we do have more action on the racetrack right now, another driver going around?
Yeah, I think Victor didn't anticipate him to check up much as he did there, and unfortunately that's one of the areas where you want to leave a little bit of room for netcode. I think it was actual positive contact there, but either way, that was just not leaving perhaps as much room as he should have there.
Coming down the back straightaway right when we came back from the replay, James Davison, I believe, had some contact as they were running pretty nose to tail and side by side out at turn number 2. So as they came down the back straightaway, he spun off the racetrack as well. James Davison in the pit, Nikita Lastashkin in the pit. And it looks like Josh Green in there as well. So with both those drivers in pit lane, Joshua, you have to think that Green and Davison may have had contact.
Yeah, it does look like both of those drivers did make contact on the back straightaway, and actually James Davison went flipping up and into the air off the catch fence of the back straightaway, so that's going to move both of these drivers out of this race. And just as quickly as we saw about 8 to 9 drivers up in this lead pack, we're going to go to now about 6 drivers here racing in this lead pack. But they're continuing to race aggressively, continuing to have these momentum shifts and these slipstreams that they're able to use, and it's very, very difficult, Rob, when you get this momentum shift and when you get a slingshot on the driver in front to just not take it anywhere. First of all, these drivers are racers. They want to be able to race up at the front and take these runs whenever they can get them. But also, you got to think about once they're 2, 3 wide in front of you, not a lot of room to be able to take these momentum shifts. You have to just kind of either get off the gas or make a diving move to the inside, which we've already seen plenty of times tonight.
Yeah, a little bit of give and take here, I think. A lot of these drivers run together in some of these sim series quite a bit. And you can see up front right now, Connor Daly, RC Enerson, Sage Karam. These guys do the iRacing Indy 500s every year. I've announced a couple of those. You can see this guy's 3 wide right now. Enerson to the bottom, Karam to the middle, Daly on the top side. I remember watching Karam race cadets back in the day. All these drivers, of course, coming out of karting. Good to see the other guys battling in with them, though. Trey Burke, Jason Pribble, and Lucas Mann get a great opportunity to run with 3 drivers you may see in the Indianapolis 500 this year. Connor Daly and Sage Karam, of course, with rides, and I know that R.C. Enerson working very hard to get himself back on the Indianapolis 500 grid, trying to put a program together. But this is a great opportunity for these guys to battle that. Look at Daly knifing from the outside of the racetrack to the bottom. Daly going to the inside of Karam, down into turn number, I believe that's 3 and 4. It is. Book it. He's through as well. No, that's 1 and 2. But look at the big run on the outside. Karam getting a better run around the top. Great side-by-side racing here, Josh.
And it's just non-stop, and you say side-by-side. How about 3 wide again? As a big diving move to the inside for Trey Burke in the 63. Sage Karam still able to hold on to the race lead, but now up on that outside line. Here's another move to the inside. That's Connor Daly in the 1. How about 3 wide for the race lead going into turn number 1 here, Robin? They're able to hold it together. Here comes 3 wide again as the roots are ensue. Trey Burke gets another momentum shift and trying to pump his way back up to the front.
Wow, this is amazing stuff right now. You can see 4 drivers up to the top part of the racetrack. Trey Burke, definitely aggressive. He's been trying to get himself to the front as much as he possibly can. You can see Luke Mann and Jason Pribble kind of just hanging out there right now, getting a feel for what's happening. I talked about Trey Burke earlier, a driver who came out of the dirt ranks running in the 305 and the 360 sprint cars and made the move into the USF 2000 program, wanting to follow in the footsteps of his hero, AJ Foy, who of course went to Indy, so that's kind of his focus. Well, Trey really battled hard all last year. They made some additions to the racing team this year, a new mechanic, new engineer. He's got Sage Karam coaching him, and we saw Trey Burke run in the top 10 all weekend in St. Petersburg, which was such a huge improvement for the young driver at Auburn, Texas. I think this is going to be a good year for Trey Burke. And again, kind of battling out side by side with his driver coach. How about 4 wide into turn number 1? Good call for the 63 of Burke to check up a little bit there. They're rolling back up on Victor Anderson. You can see him up the road. But again, it's the 22 on the outside. This is some crazy racing. They'll go back to 4 in a row. And again, Karam back down to the bottom. Anderson will come with them. This is non-stop action. Greg DeGeorgis, the keys to the race, kind of playing out here right now.
Yeah, I certainly think so with as much leapfrogging as we're seeing. And yeah, I mean, it's great to see that guys like Trey Burke, well, I know Trey's not having a hard time with Sage because of how much they work together, and I'm sure they're talking on Discord with each other right now. But yeah, it's good to see that there's not a lot of intimidation going on from the pros to the prospects.
Yeah, you can see that right there coming out of turn number 2, Burke's car drifted up a little bit. You get too far down the bottom, you'll have to chase that car up the racetrack. Jason Pribble there as well in the number 59. Big news coming out of that camp, I believe, for his 2022 plans coming very soon. Looking forward to hearing where Jason Pribble will be racing here in this season. But this is great stuff for Pribble, great stuff for Mann and Trey Burke. They're battling it out with 3 absolutely stellar professional drivers: Sage Karam, Connor Daly, and R.C. Enerson. Yeah, let's bring it up a little bit about the fact Sage Karam as well. Here's a guy that we know is going to be with Dreyer Reibold again in the Indy 500, but I think he's got a program put together, Joshua, as well. 12 to 16 races, I'm told, for Team Alpha Prime in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So I'm really excited to see what Sage will be able to do in a big stock car as well.
We'll see how much of the open wheel nature blends over to a stock car. Obviously, James Davison, kind of the poster child for that right now, with Rick Ware Racing doing both IndyCar and NASCAR. So we'll see how Sage Karam can do in those Xfinity cars whenever he can get behind the wheel. But right now in the virtual world, he is showing his might that he has a car to race up at the front. Here comes R.C. Enerson right back to the bottom. Trey Burke going to stay in the middle, and Burke's going to throw the door, slam shut on the 24, and there's Sage Karam giving a little bit of a bump to Trey Burke, saying, "You don't throw that block on me. I'm going to push myself out of the way."
Right, Trey Burke throws the slider at his coach. Sage Karam coming through 3 and 4. A little bump on the gearbox for Karam. You know these guys have spent a lot of time together on the sim, working hard. I know that Trey's been in the Symmetric Driver Performance Lab sim trackside as well. Greg, that's one of the things, right? I know that normally I try to get to Symmetric to get a little bit of seat time every weekend, but man, the sign was up all weekend long, Greg. You were packed with drivers running that virtual St. Petersburg all weekend.
Yeah, we were fully booked from load in to load out there. We worked with 10 drivers across 4 different series, and one of our guys got on the podium. Well, we got Josh Green on the podium in pole position in the first Indy Pro 2000 race, and then we worked with an MX-5 driver who made it onto the podium as well. So yes, we worked with absolutely as many people as possible from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the racetrack.
Big pinch down to the bottom of the racetrack there, coming out of turn number 3 and 4 for Burke as he tried to get in there in front of, I believe, Connor Daly. These guys are still going at it. We're just past the halfway point of what has been a tremendous race. Started with 15, had a couple of incidences, put these guys back. You can see both Dean Dibdahl and Josh Green there, 8th and 9th. They're working together to try to close back up. I think they actually may be on the lead lap still. I'm not quite sure. Maybe a lap down. But here's a move down to the bottom of the racetrack. Good job. Way down to the bottom there. I believe that's Sage. No, is that Daly going to the bottom there? I believe that's Karam. I'm going to pick up the colors here. The number's actually not lining up for me. But you'll see this again. 2 wide. Oh, how about 3 wide? Pribble's going to go to the bottom. That's a rough one. Pribble all the way down on the rumble. That does not normally work. It's Enerson in that number 7. Karam's in the white and light blue. Burke back down to the bottom into turn number 3. This thing, I feel like it's starting to percolate a little bit here. Everybody trying every line on the racetrack, Joshua, as well. We've got guys at the bottom, middle, top. Everybody wants to lead. They want to tuck in. No one content to sit in one spot.
And it seems like every line on this racetrack can work, and here's the perfect example. 3 wide into turn number 1. There's the advantage for Enerson on the bottom. Here comes the advantage from the outside line in Trey Burke, who is going to power around on the exit of the corner, and Sage Karam, who is on the very outside, is still there to race for this race lead. So really, any line on this racetrack can work, and it really depends on, like we talk about when it's the Daytona 500 or a race at Talladega over on the NASCAR side, what line is going to work and what line is going to have the momentum and the draft. That seems to be what is coming into play here. Pribble falls to the back of this line. Lucas Mann is still up here, and the Canadians trying to fight for his first race win of the season, and they're continuing to fight now as Trey Burke goes back to the lead. And look at the one at Connor Daly still fighting on the bottom. Here comes Karam to now try and get by Burke on the inside. It'll work as he goes into 3. Let's see if he can hold him off as they go off of turn number 4. Karam is going to barely clear the number 63 by just a couple of inches. Now here comes the 63 back on the outside. The one at Daly to the inside, and just like that, we're 3 wide, almost 4 wide, back to 1.
Yeah, you can see R.C. Enerson showing the mirror there to the wing, rather, to Daly. He continues to try to run the low line. He's been doing this for the last couple of laps, getting that good dive down into turn number 3, a little jake to the inside to maybe hold Enerson at bay. You can see that again, Lucas Mann and Jason Pribble just hanging out there in 5th and 6th, wise right now. Don't need to get up in the battle here. Both drivers get to feel. Here comes Enerson back to the bottom of the racetrack, and I think, Joshua, you were right. How's it going to play out? Which line is going to be the best coming out of turn number 3? How do you line things up for 3 and 4? Here is again the bottom. Look at this. Daly trying to get a better run on the bottom. Enerson's right there. Luke Mann right on the gearbox of Connor Daly. I love this racing. We'll take a time right now to take a shout out to those of you tuning in on Rev TV up in Canada. Lucas Mann, the lone Canadian running here in the top 6 positions. Mann holding that Canadian flag. A lot of Canadians running on the road to Indy, and of course IndyCar as well with Devlin DeFrancesco and Dalton Kellett. Look at the great racing we have here. He's going to go to the bottom again. Smooth on that wheel. As you can see, the 020 up top. And again, that is Connor Daly. Actually, I keep saying it's Connor Daly, Joshua. That is actually R.C. Enerson. I got to get these cars right.
Very difficult to tell, especially when they're going so fast around this racetrack. They're hitting speeds of up about 150 miles an hour at about this point. And then when they get back into turn number 1, depending on how much slipstream they've got, can go upwards of 155. So very difficult to tell who exactly is who. But Lucas Mann and Jason Pribble are at the end of this line. And you can see way up the racetrack goes Sage Karam. And R.C. Enerson's going to be went through the middle and going all the way to the back of this group. Connor Daly back to the inside in the number 1. He'll go side by side with Sage Karam as it looks like Pribble and Mann just trying to find a way to get involved in this battle. The top 4 are splitting the deal pretty evenly, moving their way throughout the top 4 spots. But it looks like 5th and 6th now, just kind of stuck behind a wall. Can't really get up to the front. They've got time to still figure it out with 3.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, I think that Mann and Pribble probably just biding their time right now, getting a good feel, right? Go to school right now. Find out what these guys are doing up front. These are the pros. Obviously, Burke with a lot of oval experience, really not much of it at all coming, or almost none of it coming actually on pavement. I think he did the last year at the Freedom 75. He ran both a midget and his USF 3000 car at the Carb Night Classic. So I think these drivers further back are getting ready to dive in here. Again, just 3 minutes remaining here in this first 20-minute race of the doubleheader. And look at the bit of a lead here right now for Sage, Karam, Daly, and Peterson from the top side. It is, again, the 63 of Trey Burke right in there as well. Jason Prebble starting to get aggressive at the number 59. He'll go back to the bottom of the racetrack again. Make sure that car doesn't get a mid-corner oversteer coming out. He'll get a good run. He's going to try to tuck in there with Enerson as well. 2.5 minutes to go. There are about a 30-second lap, so call it about 5 laps remaining here in the first of 2 races. And this is your battle. Karam, Daly, Ederson, Burke, Mann, and Pribble. Top 6 drivers. Matt Clark back at 7th. Josh Green 8th. Dean Dibdall 9th. And Dylan Christie in 10th. And again, these guys have not given up even an inch. Daly to the top side of the racetrack again. But the guy up front making it all work right now is the number 22, a Sage Care. Here comes Ederson back on the bottom of the racetrack. Burke's going to go to the bottom as well. He'll go from 3rd to 1st. Does he hold the spot? No. Big run on the outside. And again, to the top side goes Ederson.
Take a look at this battle for the race win now as we go south of 2 minutes to go. Karam back to the inside. And as they race through turns 3 and 4, give the advantage over to Sage Karam. But look at Ederson, a great run to the outside as the number 2 machine tries to fight for that race win again. Trey Burke going to go 3 wide down to the bottom of the racetrack, not leaving Sage Karam much room at all, but it will work as they go back to 1. Still 3 wide as they fight their way through the middle of the corner. Trey Burke going to slide up a little bit, forces Karam up to slam the door and Ederson down the back.
You wonder whether or not Mann and Pribble just waiting there to clean up the garbage right now. They've run 5th and 6th in this entire run. Top 4 drivers have been dicing up back and forth. Every one of these veteran drivers trying different lines on the racetrack. What will work? Where do I get the best draft? Where can I get that run? Burke on the bottom with no help. I'm going to say probably 2 laps to go here right now because less than a minute remaining. They'll come around here with less than 30 seconds, so likely 2 laps to go. Big run to the top side for Karam. And again, Ederson right with them. Burke trying to hold the bottom of the racetrack. Here we go down to the bottom again. RC Ederson go to the lead. To the inside of turn number 3. Karam still running that top side. Ederson gets a really good run out of turn number 3. They'll drive it up to the top of the racetrack. He'll hold that position. They'll come across start finish right now. This will be the final lap here. And they'll work their way down into 1 and 2. Burke down to the bottom of the racetrack again. Karam to the top. It's the student and the coach. Running 1-2. Karam with a better run. Here comes Ederson. Contact, I think, further back a little bit there between Mann and Pribble. Pribble to the bottom of the racetrack, holding on. Karam's got the spot. Here comes Daly. They get 3 wide. Karam going to go to the bottom. He's going to pitch him off. What kind of a run does Ederson have on the top side? Here they come down to the bottom of the racetrack, and they're in race number 1. Sage Karam. Sage Karam and contact coming across the line. And we stacked them and packed them. Burke, Daly, Mann, and Pribble. All with contact. Joshua coming across the line. The only 2 to get there cleanly and coming to the back straight. Sage Karam with the win. R.C. Ederson in second. All hell broke loose at the end, though.
What a finish. Sage Karam with a last-minute effort, and luckily for him, coming off of turn number 4, seemed like Enerson, Burke, Daly all stalled out with their momentum as they were running so close together, and that led to Sage Karam with his first and only win of the season so far in the Road to Indy eSeries.
What an unbelievable finish that was for sure. What a crazy race from start to finish, right? A couple little wrecks. We knew that we had some talented guys and it was going to be wheel to wheel. Well, that's exactly what we got. Wheel to wheel all race long. And again, a big win there for Sage Karam. Able to get back to the bottom of the racetrack and just got a really good run out of turn number 4 and was able to pinch that down to the bottom. Joshua, that's what you want, right? Under the lights here at World Wide Technology Raceway. Let's go wheel to wheel. And our pro drivers showed why they're pros. They were super clean.
That is the exact racing that we are looking for. That is excitement for every single lap. We went 20 minutes with only a handful of incidents, and yes, they might have been multi-car pileups, but at the end, we still had 6 drivers who, all on the white flag lap, had an opportunity to grab that win.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that is exactly what I had hoped for. Not surprising to see the guys up front like that, like the Connor Dailies, the James Davisons, of course, Sage Karam. That was a lot of fun to see those guys rolling. All right, folks, listen, when we get back after this quick break, we're going to take a look through the top 3. We'll give you a run through, and we'll get a chance to talk to our winner as well.
An important decision is afoot. This man is about to buy tires on TireRack.com. Tire Rack is the leading online retailer of tires in North America and a repository of advice and expert reviews. And it's done! All that's left is to arrange for safe, easy installation at one of our independent recommended installers. Well, I guess he did that too. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Well, Joshua, myself, and Greg just spent the last minute sucking on the oxygen tank. We're feeling a lot better after holding our breath for a lot of that race. Sage Karam with the win by just over 1/10 of a second at the line. R.C. Enerson just not able to get enough of a run over the top side of the racetrack. Trey Burke ends up coming home in third. But as we saw, carnage afterwards. Burke, Daly, Mann, and Pribble all making contact coming to the line. But they still finish within 0.7 of a second coming across the stripe. Great job for all 6 of those drivers running a nose to tail. Matt Clark, the only driver who did not go down a lap after the incident early. Josh Green ends up in 8th. Dean Dibdahl 9th. Dylan Christie in 10th. Connor Gutting in 11th spot. 12th, Ayrton Hauk. 13th, Victor Anderson started on the pole. James Davis in 14th and Nikita Lastishkin in the 15th spot. Not sure whether or not we're going to get a hold of Sage Karam here right now. But look at this. With the invert, Joshua, we're going to see Dylan Christie and Dean Dibdahl in the front row.
We're going to see Josh Green back up to the front as well. Remember, it's been all talk for him this past week after winning race number 1 in St. Petersburg in his rookie season for Indy Pro 2000. We'll see how he can do here in the virtual world and on an oval as well. He showed some speed in race number 1, but unfortunately was caught up in an incident that leads to him starting in 3rd after the top 10 invert.
Now, we saw some great racing in the opening round of this doubleheader, the opening 20-minute race. You know, we saw the Sage Karams run up front, R.C. Enerson, Connor Daly, Trey Burke right in up front there. This is going to be the crazy thing right now. They're starting further back in the field, Joshua. We're talking Sage Karam and R.C. Enerson on row number 5. I think that's going to be where to watch right now. What do they do in the opening couple laps? They obviously have shown the experience and the patience up front. They were trying different angles and different lines. I want to see how they approach this and work their way forward. Where do they go? What moves do they make to make sure, Joshua, they don't find themselves in the wall?
And especially talking about those drivers that did get wrecked out of race number 1, they might have a little bit of a less experience in the draft as a lot of the drivers that went the entire 20 minutes. We'll have to see what happens here in race 2.
Hey, Greg, what are your thoughts on this here? That was a solid opening race. Just awesome to get things underway.
Yeah, that's. I think that's even more than we bargained for first race, and I'm just hoping that we have more guys fighting for the lead in the second one here.
Yeah, indeed. We'll see those drivers starting to line themselves up here, folks. We are going to be set to go in a little bit here right now. Don't go anywhere. This is, folks. So we're winding down some time here right now. We got to go to another quick commercial break, and when we get back, we are going to go racing here. Round number 2, or event number 2 here at World Wide Technology Raceway under the lights in Madison, Illinois. Drivers getting dialed in and ready to go. Stay tuned, folks. More to come after this quick break.
An important decision is afoot. This man is about to buy tires on TireRack.com. Tire Rack is the leading online retailer of tires in North America and a repository of advice and expert reviews. And it's done! All that's left is to arrange for safe, easy installation at one of our independent recommended installers. Well, I guess he did that too. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
Rickmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Rickmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, rickmotech.com.
Welcome back to World Wide Technology Raceway here in the virtual world as we are ready to wrap up this year's 2022 TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries presented by Cooper Tires. Drivers are rolling out here right now. This is the Road to Indy Invitational. We saw our pro drivers who have come back to play with the RTI drivers and the prospects really show well. They were the drivers to watch out for. Let's have a look at the grid as we get set to go. The drivers will work their way around. We're going to go green racing here pretty soon, so I'll do a quick run through the order. Dylan Christie and Dean Dibdahl start on the front row. Row 2, Josh Green and Matt Clark. Row 3 will be Jason Pribble alongside Lucas Mann. Row 4, Connor Daly and Trey Burke. Keep an eye here on row number 5, first and second in the opening race. R.C. Enerson starting 9th. Sage Karam, your race winner, starting in 10th. And on row 6, Connor Gutting and Ayrton Hauk. On row number 7, as we go a little further back in the grid, it will be, I believe, Victor Anderson and James Davison, and then we'll have Nikita Lastishkin as well. Field lining up and getting set to go, racing here for another 20-minute battle. Dean Dibdahl on the outside, Dylan Christie on the outside. Let's see what happens here as they work their way to turn number 3. We had a tremendous 20-minute battle. We expect more of the same. Drivers getting ready to punch off, and we're underway. Green, green, green. And Christie with a good start. Dibdahl a little slow on the throttle. That's going to put Clark on the outside and Josh Green to the bottom. And Dibdahl holding that midsection of the racetrack. Down into P4. Dylan Christie using the jump to be able to get out to an early lead here right now. And I guarantee Joshua, we're going to see patience with the guys like Daly and Enerson and Davison and Karam. Those drivers will slowly start to work their way forward.
And that's exactly what they can do here at the beginning portion of this race, because we saw the aggression of race number 1. And normally when race number 1 is a lot of aggression, usually race number 2 is a little bit more calm. And I think we're already seeing a little bit of that, not seeing as much 3 wide or 4 wide as we did at the beginning of race number 1. So right now, drivers taking it a little bit easy while still testing out the waters as the 21. Going to take a small tap to the wall. That's Dean Dibdahl. Not going to go fully around and just going to fall back a couple of tenths here from the pack.
And again, those drivers starting just outside the top 10 with Sage Karam and R.C. Enerson right in front of them. A good opportunity to tuck back behind them. Maybe get a feel. Ayrton Hauk in the Pabst Racing number 82 right there, as is Connor Gutting. James Davison had a trouble early, starting at the very tail of the field, fighting his way back up. So a little bit of 2 wide, maybe a little bit of 3 wide up front. And look at this move here. Sage Karam has already got himself to the lead. Josh Green right with him. Matt Clark to the bottom of the track. So Sage Karam. Man, this guy is wheeling it around here right now. Karam right to the middle of the racetrack right now. Green to the top side. Here comes Trey Burke again. The cream rising to the top very quickly here now. Josh Green, though, who, as we said, was a winner at Lucas Oil Raceway, the track we will go back to calling Indianapolis Raceway Park, right in here as well. First couple of minutes, Joshua, just what we wanted right now. Karam, though, very quickly from P10 to P1.
What a move from Sage Karam to go back to the front. Now he's going to get back by Josh Green. Here comes Trey Burke to join the battle again as they go into turn number 3. Burke's going to have that momentum on the inside. He gets by Sage Karam, albeit by just a few inches. Karam's not letting go on the outside line. Here comes Green back to the bottom. And just like that, already again, they are 3 wide for the race lead. Have Mackenzie Clark join the conversation. He sits in 4th. Look at Connor Daly. Look at James Davison. They sit side by side and running at the top 5.
Yeah, this is one of those races where you love having a really good spotter in your ear, letting you know who's around. What I love here up front right now, you got Sage Karam, former USF 2000 and Indy Lights champion. You got Josh Green, who's now a race winner in Indy Pro 2000. Trey Burke, who had a great run in USF 2000, and Matt Clark right in there, who's going to make his debut in the USF Juniors program this year. This is a full run down through the road to Indy. We got a veteran driver up front battling it out with Trey Burke and Sage Karam. look at the other. Oh, there's the driver going off the back of the racetrack. That was Victor Anderson in the VRD machine. Not sure if it was contact or not, but Anderson losing it coming out of turn number 3 and around he went. Up front, though, it's Karam now back to the bottom. Oh, little wiggle there. Karam had some trouble. The field's going to swallow him up. Joshua, he's going to probably go back to maybe 8th or 9th, maybe even outside the top 10. Karam, he's going to have to start all over again here, but still 16 minutes to go.
That is exactly what happened there, Rob. He got a little bit loose, and with everybody else being in a draft, having the momentum, having the speed, they just ate him alive, and Karam falls now outside of the top 10 for a moment. He's down in P12 behind Dibdal and Gutting now. He's battling for 10th and 11th. Karam's going to go all the way down to P13 as well. Looks like it's going to be an extended stay at the back of the field currently for Sage Karam. But how about Connor Daly? Middle 3 wide here is R.C. Anderson and Josh Green. Gonna try and split him down the middle. There goes the 18 of Davison trying to get back to the bottom. Green and Anderson now gonna stay side by side for the race lead.
Yeah, again, everybody take a deep breath as we're 4 minutes into this 20-minute race. James Davison starting at the very tail of the field. We talked a little bit about James and everything he's done, Indy 500 starts, all the work he did coming up through Formula BMW, the Champ Car Atlantic Series, ran in Indy Lights, was second a couple back in, I believe, 2009 maybe, was second in the championship, maybe a little later than that. Davison, of course, as you said, did a couple of years running with Rick Ware Racing, doing a bunch of different cup starts. This past January, February, though, getting a chance to run in the Rolex 24. So always good to see him, a multifaceted driver for Sir James Davison. And Joshua, he's a guy you can give a car, and on 90% of the day, this guy's going to bring it home. Going to replay here right now as well. Fix the incident. I'm thinking with Victor Anderson, we'll look out of the back here and see what happened to Anderson coming out of turn number 3. Does he just lose it himself, or did the car kind of drift up? No, it was actually Connor Gutting. Connor Gutting at the number 10 coming across the racetrack, and he lost control of it, Joshua, out of turn number 4. Let's bring Greg Georges in there. Greg, your synopsis there, maybe just a little trouble coming out of turn number 3.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looked like there. I got to really see a replay before I can make a really solid judgment on it.
Drivers battling in here again. Look at this. They are all on top of each other again. What a scrap we have here. Up front, R.C. Anderson's been able to go back to the lead. Matt Clark right in it again here this time. P2. He'll get a good run with Davison behind him. Again here. On board now, I believe, right behind Burke. That will probably be James Davison or potentially Connor Daly as well. Yeah, I think maybe Connor Daly. He's got that Team USA scholarship sticker on the front of the machine. Look at him tucking right back in behind here. I love this 3-wide race. Oh, here comes a big move to the bottom of the track as well. Davison to the inside of R.C. Anderson.
Davison wants the lead. What an aggressive move there, Rob, to get that lead back. But you can see just how quickly the tides change. Anderson with a big push from Matt Clark behind is going to go right back to the lead. Here comes Sage Karam right back to the front.
So I mentioned that I thought that might have been Connor Daly with the Team USA Scholarship. Of course, he was part of the Team USA Scholarship alongside Joseph Newgarden, but that's actually Josh Green's machine. First time we've been on board with Josh. So the black front is Josh's machine. How about 3 or 4 wide? And Josh, what it feels to me right now that nobody wants to waste momentum. If they have a run, they're trying to take it, right? The minute you get off the car, I think you start losing it. Everybody else swallows it up behind you. It just feels like trying to keep that momentum moving forward. If you have the run, you've got to go for it.
Exactly the nature of racing here at World Wide Technology Raceway. You really cannot let any run go to waste. You need to take it when you have it. Look at Josh Green getting a run on Trey Burke. Going to go to the inside. Might be 4 wide. It'll settle back to 3 as Green is going to go from the 3rd row of action up into the 2nd, and he's going to clear for 3rd. Now going up to try and fight with Davison and Anderson in front. Trey Burke back to the bottom of the 26 of Matt Clark. Everything happening up at the front. Here comes Clark right back into the podium places.
Yeah, Joshua, I think that might have been the best run we've seen of a driver really railing down the bottom of turn number 1 and 2. Got a really good plant down the bottom there for Green and got a lot of exit speed. And that's one of the issues. You're going to lose that exit speed when you get down to the bottom. Let's see what happens here for Clark. Right down to the bottom. You got to put more wheel in it. Got to really get on that wheel. Oh, big contact further back. Couple of drivers together. Team Timgo and Connor Daly, I believe, potentially together further back in the pack. A couple of drivers together deep in the field coming through turns 1 and 2. Davison, though, with the lead. We'll probably get a replay of that. There's more contact. That's Davison out. So that's Enerson contact. Clark as well. Dylan Christie. A number of drivers involved in that one. Full course yellow. And indeed, our first full course yellow of the evening is contact between Matt Clark and R.C. Enerson. Get together, coming through that corner, and Dylan Christie with nowhere to go there as well. So Joshua, first time in the evening, we've come to a stop here. Going full course yellow, big incident in turn number 1 and 2.
And you can see also getting involved in that incident. It looked like Connor Daly also was caught up in that mess off of turn number 3 and 4. And hopefully we can grab a replay here soon. It was Connor Daly, R.C. Enerson that were involved in that incident, Rob, and unfortunate to see two amazingly fast drivers here in race number 2.
Yeah, I think it was Daly and Dibdall that got together. We'll have a look at the replay here. I think we're going to come on board with Dean Dibdall. We'll show the incident between he and Connor Daly. Again, on board with Dibdall coming into turn number 1. Dibdall's right there trying to get the run coming up. Oh, no, that was it. Wasn't Dibdall's fault. Contact from the bottom. One of the drivers down to the bottom kind of drifted up a little bit into Connor Daly. Daly coming down a bit as well. And that sent him off into Dibdall. So Dean Dibdall, nothing he could do about that at all. Here's the other incident. This is where we're going to see when we do get the replay between Matt Clark and R.C. Enerson. I believe Dylan Christie was the one that was caught up in that one as well. So two separate incidents here about 8.5 minutes in, as we're at a full course caution right now, coming to the halfway point of what will be a 20-minute race back into the doubleheader of this TireRack.com Road to Indy Invitational. This event capping off this year's iRacing eSeries. So let's have a look at it again here. This is the other incident with Clark and Enerson. Clark down to the bottom of the racetrack. It looks like, I'm not sure what happened there. Clark just all of a sudden drifted up the racetrack, made contact with Enerson, and absolutely nowhere to go, Joshua, for Dylan Christie.
And unfortunate, of course, with these ovals, not a lot of place to go. You can't go all the way to the right because, of course, the wall's out there. You can't really go much to the left. The grass is there, so not a lot of area these drivers could go. Once an incident's happening in front, pretty much all said and done, that's going to be night over for a handful of very quick drivers on the racetrack.
Yeah, and let's be real. When you're in a corner like that and you're totally committed, you've got, you're cranking on the wheel. It's almost impossible to avoid an incident to the right, unless you're just drifting the car up. The minute you try to take evasive maneuvers to go to the right, the car's going to spin around. So you're committed to those corners, and there's not much you can do when other drivers get together but try to go to the bottom and hope everything pushes back up to the top. We're going to have another look at the replay of the incident between Matt Clark and R.C. Enerson. We'll see what happened there again coming into turn number 3. You can see Clark on the bottom. Yeah, looks like Clark's car just broke loose coming into the corner, which is very surprising. Everybody else is fine. I don't know why that would have happened. Greg and Georges, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, maybe it's some aero wash there. I mean, the setup is on the slightly conservative side when you're running on your own, but as soon as you're in the aero wash, the way it affects the front of the rear wing could have something to play there. That looked like, unfortunately, an unforced error there for Mac, and sorry to see some other cars get collected there and as collateral damage.
Yeah, car went around as soon as it kind of transitioned into the corner. But let's put it this way: we've still got racing to do. We're going to have still a number of minutes to go. James Davison, the driver, out front right now. Trey Burke runs second. Sage Karam finds himself back up into third, having fallen outside the top 10. Luke Mann now runs in fourth. Josh Green in fifth. Jason Pribble back into the sixth spot. Nikita Lastushkin up into seventh. Connor Gutting runs in eighth. Matt Clark in ninth. Connor Daly in 10th, Dean Dibdall 11th, 12th is Dylan Christie, 13th Victor Anderson, 14th R.C. Enerson, and the only driver down a lap is Ayrton House. So everybody's still on the lead lap, Joshua. We're going back to racing right now, too. Let's get at it. Everybody back to the lead lap. We've got just under 8 minutes to go, 7.5 to go. Time to go racing to see who's going to grab the win here in race number 2.
And James Davison shot out of a cannon to begin this run, and Trey Burke very loose off of turn 2. He looked like he had a severe understeer coming off of that corner, Rob, and he ended up having a swerve down to the inside. That moves Burke down into P5. Green and Mann going to fight for that third spot, while James Davison and Sage Karam start to run away at the front of the field, about 3/10 back to Sage Karam from Davison, about another 3/10 back to Josh Green.
So you think about Jason Pribble and Who else around? Trey Burke and Lucas Mann. Yeah, Pribble and Mann, who were able to run up front with those leaders for, sat right there in 5th and 6th. Really went to school, got a good feel for where they needed to be on the track. We'll see if that pays off in race number 2. You see Matt Clark already starting to get aggressive, trying to get to the inside of Nikita Lastishkin. 4 drivers lining up front, though. Davison, Karam, Green, and Luke Mann right there as well. Karam back to the bottom of the racetrack. The 2 pro drivers with multiple Indy 500 starts going at it here up front. Josh Green actually winning 2 races in a row. Capped off the USF 2000 season at Mid-Ohio with a win. And we got big contact from the back coming out at turn number 2. At least 3 drivers in the wall at turn number 2. Matt Clark and Nikita Lastishkin for sure involved there. So chaos happening further back like we saw earlier. These drivers, Joshua, putting the hammer down. Trey Burke, I think, may have been involved in that one as well. Up front, a little more cleaner racing, but man, when you're in the back, you lose that patience, you find yourself in trouble.
And look at this battle for the lead. It's between Davison and Karam again. Karam to the outside line. We saw how great safe Karam could use the outside line in race number 1. Looking like he's going to take that same strategy here. Uses it again. Grabs the lead. Now going to throw the block to Josh Green, who sits on the inside line. Lucas Mann sits in 4th now as the pack has broken their way up. Now top 4 breaking away by about 1.7 seconds over Pribble.
Let's see what Lucas Mann can do here. Like I said, ran in the lead pack early as well. Really good showing here for Lucas Mann, the young Canadian driver, and having a good, solid performance here, all told. Josh Green, as we said, though, I talked about the fact that he had won the final USF 2000 race last year, comes out as a rookie in Indy Pro 2000, wins the opening race of the season. And so he's back-to-back race winners, and he's doing a tremendous job here as well. Here's the contact we saw further back. Let's have a look at the replay here coming out again of turn number 2. You see down to the bottom goes to 63 and Trey Burke. Dribble's right there as well. And I don't know if there was contact or what happened, but it looked to me like the number 26 of Matt Clark got looped around there. That everybody just got caught up. And I want to say once again, I think Dean Dimdahl got caught up in that, Joshua. He has just been in the wrong place at the wrong time. But check this out. How about a warning right now from number 18, James Davison for blocking. Johnny Unser, race control at the Road to Indy, race control here on the eSeries. Cracking down on James Davison a bit.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a bold call. It's the correct call to make by race control, but you got to remember how many runs we're seeing these drivers get on these drivers in front of them. Now, of course, race control is setting the precedent that, look, if the driver behind you is quicker, you cannot throw the block. And take a look at James Davison, again, throwing a block on Josh Green. Not as severe as the one he got clocked for, but again, they need to make sure they're being safe in their driving, that they're not trying to block a car that's going about 5 miles an hour faster than them.
I'm going to say this right now. This is like literal poetry up front. You can just see these guys dicing and sliding. It's a move to the bottom for Davison. He makes the move, goes to the top. Karam just gets to the top, pitches it back down, slides back to the bottom. These guys are just going back and forth. I love what we're seeing here right now. You just love to see these guys go. You know, when they run wheel to wheel like this, they have the trust with each other. Like I said before, these guys do a lot of iRacing, a lot of sim racing, and they run a lot of events together. I know I have called a couple of different races where they have actually raced together, and this is the kind of thing we see. A lot of respect being shown here right now, and I think really, Joshua, great opportunity for Josh Green and Lucas Mann getting a chance to battle here with James Davison and Sage Karam. This is what this RTI Invitational is all about.
And just how aggressive they are at the front of this field. It is relentless for each of these drivers as they continue to fight. A little bit of contact between Karam and Green. Neither of them get into an incident. We stayed green on the racetrack. 3 minutes to go, just a couple of laps remaining, and they continue to be very aggressive towards the front of this field. But James Davison, what a way for him to pull away at the front and try and lead for a bit. He's going to snake down the back straightaway, trying to hold Karam at bay.
Let's say 5 or 6 laps remaining here in the second race of the doubleheader. World Wide Technology Raceway under the lights here in the TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries Invitational. Karam back to P1. Look at Lucas Mann. He now goes to P3. Man, right there on the gearbox of Davison as they head back down into turn number 1. Man to the bottom of the racetrack. Davison running cleanly there mid-track. Very easy place to run around. Taking care of those tires. We'll go back down, try to break that draft a little bit. Karam says, all right, I'll get that run. Slingshot around the top of the racetrack again. He'll try to pinch him back down to the bottom. And again, Nan and Green just sitting there watching. Sooner or later, if they want to take a run at this race win, they got to get in there and start fighting. Joshua, 2 minutes to go, about 4 laps.
Oh, contact and a big wreck for James Davison. Goes flipping into turn number 1. Makes contact with Lucas Mann. That's going to leave a 2-horse fight at the front of the field between Sage Karam and Josh Green. They're continuing to fight. Green on the outside, Sage Karam on the bottom. They're going to fight again, not leaving each other any room as they go through 3 and 4.
Dylan Christie running in 3rd spot right now. If something happens to these 2 drivers, Christie could find himself put into the lead. Here we go, folks. Probably about 3 laps remaining. It'll be Green to the top side of the racetrack. Green in the turn 3 motorsports machine, and of course Sage Karam right there. The Indy Pro 2000 cars, fantastic race car from Tatis. Look at these guys going at it. Green sizing them up, going back to the top side of the track, and see how that thing runs. A little bit of entry oversteer, I think. Got to get it back down to the bottom. Lost a bit of ground there now. Karam with a little bit more gap. You can see maybe 2-3 car lengths coming across the line. 2 more laps remaining here. And again, Green goes back down to the bottom. Joshua just about a lap and a half to go.
What can Josh Green do? He needs to rely all on that slipstream. He can't rely on any other driver. The closest driver behind them is 2.8 seconds in the rear view mirror. That's 3rd place of Victor Anderson. Karam leads, Green in 2nd. 1 to go this time by Rob, and all bets are off.
White flag flying here at World Wide Technology Raceway. Final lap of the Invitational. Green down to the bottom of the racetrack. Already a winner at Lucas Oil Raceway. Already a winner at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Can he beat a head-to-head battle? Tries to go to the bottom. Gets on the rumbles. Not a good run there. All the way down to the bottom and trying to get the draft here on Karam. Sage Karam holding it. Green with a big run. Does he go to the inside of turn number 3? He thinks about it. Karam's got the spot. Green right on the gearbox. Does he get a run coming out the corner? Sage Karam trying to do it. He'll come to the line. Green's going to try to beat him. Right in the line, and it's not going to happen. Back-to-back jacks for Sage Karam as he wins both races. And Green walls it to wrap up the lap. You can do that in the virtual world, but not for Sage Karam. Joshua, it is going to be a victory lap, a couple of different wins, but Sage Karam wins both races here at the Invitational. Tremendous battle. Josh Green ends up 2nd, RC Ener 3rd, Victor Anderson 4th, and Jason Pribble gets up there to P5. There's Connor Daly coming up to give a little salute to Sage Karam.
The first driver this season to go back-to-back and win both races in a single night. What a run for the virtual number 22 of Sage Karam.
Yeah, big one there for Sage Karam, of course. This is just an absolute battle for sure. This was a ton of fun to watch. I'll tell you one thing, we didn't have a lot of yellow flags. We have a lot of time left in the show here right now. And Sage gonna burn it down here in Victory Lane. And hey, listen, I'm telling you this, Joshua. Yeah, he's coming in here. This guy, a guy that's run multiple Indy 500s. But anytime you run in your sim, you want to win, right? You don't want to come in and get beaten by an RTI prospect or a Road to Indy driver. You've already won the USF 2000 championship. You've already won Indy Lights. I guarantee you, a little feather in the cap for Sage Karam when he's walking around the paddock when we get to our next race at Barber Motorsports Park.
And how is he going to take what he did tonight, take it into the real world as well? We know Josh Green is taking his virtual prowess into the real world with his win in St. Petersburg. A 2nd place, nothing to slouch for. RC Enerson as well in 3rd, nothing to slouch for there either. Victor Anderson and Jason Pribble rounding out the top 5. Just what a night of racing we saw here, Rob.
Indeed, Sage Karam coming out on what was a great battle there with Josh Green. Josh tried to go to the bottom of the racetrack, I think, in turn number 1. And 2, just wasn't able to make it stick. Folks, we got lots coming. Stay with us. We're going to go to a quick break. When we get back from this break, we got lots of interviews for you. And again, getting a chance to talk to our race winner, Sage Karam.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're going to need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper Enduramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper.
Rickmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Hundreds of name brand parts. Expert support. Rickmotech has you covered. There's only one place to go. rickmotech.com.
It's your Uncle Cooper. If you and your truck are constantly tackling the regular duties of the day, go with a tire that can handle them all. Oh, man. I stepped in it. Go with the Coopers.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to World Wide Technology Raceway as we wrap up what has been a tremendous Road to Indy eSeries Invitational. Again, big thank you to TireRack.com for being our presenting sponsor throughout this entire eSeries this year. Of course, Cooper Tires as well. Let's have a look at the feature results here of race number 2. We had 10 in the lead pack, then 6, then 4. It ended up being just the 2 drivers at the very end after contact late. Sage Karam ends up with the win. Look at the margin, just 36 thousandths of a second at the line for Josh Green. Green ends up in second. Victor Anderson coming back after the spin early. Got lucky there with the full course yellow. Victor Anderson, the Swedish driver for Velocity Racing Development, coming home in the 3rd spot. RC Enerson ends up in 4th, right there with him. The margin between Anderson and Enerson at the line, just 1/1000th of a second. Jason Pribble having a great run as well. P5 for Jason, a couple of really strong runs in the top 6 for Jason in both races. Dylan Christie ends up in 6th spot. Connor Daly in 7th. Dean Dibdahl, who was a last-minute addition to the field, didn't even get a chance to practice. Excellent job for Dean, although he got caught up in a couple of incidents that were not of his own doing. Connor Gutting ends up in 9th. Lucas Mann, who was in the fight up front all race long, ends up in 10th. James Davison was right there. The contact between Mann and Davison late in the race dropped them to the tail of the top 10. Ayrton Hout, Trey Burke, Matt Clark, and Nikita Lastishkin all involved in incidences early. Joshua, let's bring you back in as well. Man, some pretty good racing all around. That was a lot of fun to watch. When you get really solid, sim racing guys up front that understand patience, that was just a ton of fun to watch.
Just some of the most incredible racing we have seen in this Road to Indy E-Series calendar. Of course, the second oval on the calendar, of course, other than IRP. And IRP being much shorter, not as quick. We didn't get as much of the slipstream battles as we did tonight, but what a night that we saw. Basically like a super speedway for these cars. It was intense.
All right, welcome, folks, to the Cooper Tire Broadcast Center. We're going to get a couple of interviews here right now. Joining us right now, a veteran driver, James Davison. James, thank you, first off, so much for being part of this E-Series Invitational event. We thank you so much for being with us. But, man, I'll tell you, I didn't think I'd ever have to have my oxygen tank to call a race in the virtual world. Dude, you guys were having a ton of fun out there. That was like 2 wide, 3 wide, all race long early on.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? And it was cool to race up there with all the other old guys, if you want to put it that way. Connor, RC, Sage, and then race with the young guys. And we all, I think, did a really good job there for how much of a pack race it was. We all got caught out a couple of times by netcode and all that kind of stuff, but it was just a lot of fun, so I hope everyone watching enjoyed it.
Well, James, for the record, I never once called you guys old at all because I'm significantly older than you. So you guys are still the young guys in the sport when it comes to me. Hey, let me ask you a question. We got you here. What do you got going this year? What's James Davison racing here in 2022?
Well, yeah, like many years of my career, I've never been entirely sure going into the year, and honestly I was on the beach in Australia and got a call to get to Daytona, and 4 days later I was on the podium. I hadn't done a GT race in 5 years. I hadn't driven a road course since the Indianapolis NASCAR race in August, nor had I turned my simulator on since then, so it was pretty crazy. I got 5 laps in the car before the race, and that was a good way to kickstart the year. I'll be back doing a couple of NASCAR races. As ever, it's a sponsorship puzzle to put it all together and get out on the track. I'm looking to go with a bit more quality over quantity this year. I've done 30 NASCAR Cup races in the last 18 months. But I'm at the point now where I just need to get in better gear to put into play what I've learned over those 30 races. So I'll be doing a bit of that, maybe racing at the historic Monaco Grand Prix in a 70s F1 car. I've been fortunate to drive quite a few of those cars at Grand Prix around the world, in Silverstone in 2019 and Austin and Mexico. They're all support races to the actual F1 with the wealthy owners, and yeah, they're just a blast to drive. They're like a Formula Ford 1600 on steroids, those old 70s cars. They're just amazing.
Well, James, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Great to see you running up front.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation.
James Davison, folks, again, have a great run there. Again, a long career in Road to Indy, of course, multi-time starter in the Indianapolis 500 as well. All right, let's bring our race winner, double race winner, Sage Karam, up into victory lane, and he's standing by right now with Joshua Lee.
Well, Sage, familiar to see you in the virtual world, and glad to see you taking part here in the final race of the Road to Indy eSeries calendar. Just talk about your run in the sim tonight, and you had some great speed, but it seemed like a lot of that, both of those race wins were navigating the draft and navigating how the slipstream and how the car was working.
Yeah, I mean, first, Rob kind of came up to me at St. Pete and was like, hey, do you want to do this race? The last one we got going on. And, I was like, yeah, for sure. I don't think I got anything going on. So it was cool to get on here with these guys. And, I coached Trey Burke. So being able to race with him on iRacing here was pretty fun as well, after coming off a strong weekend he had in St. Pete. So, as far as the actual sim races is concerned, they went pretty well. Obviously 2 wins, couldn't have drawn up any better. But it was basically just figuring out where the grip was, how to get through the corner the best, to maximize, exit speed down the straights and stuff. And I felt like I was able to do that no matter what lane I was in. It just seemed like if you were able to lift off the throttle a bit sooner, get the thing pointed and back to power a bit more aggressively, you could stay flat on the exit. And that's how I got some of those pretty big runs.
Well, great to see you competing here tonight, Sage, and looking forward real quick into the real world. What are you looking forward to in this 2022 season of IndyCar?
Obviously, for me, just getting back to Indianapolis, the 500 again. That's the only race I have on the schedule for IndyCar. So, coming off a strong May we had last year, I think it's going to be, it was a big boost for sure in confidence for me and the whole team. So going into the month of May with that, in our back pocket, makes us feel pretty good about our chances. And, we have a 2-car team this year instead of a 1-car with teammates with Santino. So another fast guy in there. So it's going to be pretty cool to pick his mind and see where we stack up. And then other than IndyCar, I'll be doing a bunch of NASCAR Xfinity racing and coaching Trey Burke as well. So just kind of having fun and staying busy.
Well, great to hear from you here in the virtual world, Sage, and good luck in your real world ventures this season, and congratulations on your 2 race wins tonight.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Great to hear from our double race winner, Rob, the only driver this season to win both races in a single event, and it is Sage Karam. What a night for him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. A ton of fun to watch him going back at it, back and forth with a number of different drivers. Really just a treat to see Sage up there. And again, coming out, sometimes you got to be a bit lucky, and he was able to get through, did a tremendous job. For those of you watching on Rev TV, we hope you enjoyed tonight's TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries Invitational. Running a season finale at World Wide Technology Raceway means, of course, guaranteed side-by-side racing, and we certainly had that tonight. Congratulations again to tonight's double winner, Sage Karam. If you want to join us for the remainder of our post-race show, head over now to Road to Indy TV's YouTube channel. We're going to line up a couple more drivers for interviews, and we'll wrap up the season there. We appreciate everyone who tuned in for this year's Road to Indy eSeries here on Rev TV. You've certainly got a chance to look at the past, present, and future of this unparalleled driver development program. The young RTI prospects showed extremely well, and it was a pleasure having our graduates with us here this evening. On behalf of everyone from the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, I want to offer a special thank you to our communications director, Tammy Valkoski, who put in so much work behind the scenes. We'd also like to thank the following individuals for all that they provided to this year's series. Lee Thompson and Alex Simpson from Apex Racing TV, our series administrators at Extreme Motorsports, Kevin Ford and Jeff Jacobs, and of course, my broadcast partners, Joshua Lee and Greg DeGeorgis. It was an exciting season of virtual racing. Now it's time to focus on the real thing, the Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. This is Rob Howden signing off from World Wide Technology Raceway. Bye for now.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
So, we buy shoes online, and socks, and shoe socks, and baby food, dog food, parrot food, gardening tools, art supplies, college classes, scarf, the scarf tube, sleeping bag suit? Yeah. So why not buy tires online? TireRack.com is North America's largest online retailer of tires. Find, buy, then have them shipped to one of our trusted independent installers for safe, easy installation. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be. Online, with all that other stuff.
Welcome back to the Cooper Tire Broadcast Center. We say hello to those of you who have joined us here on the Road to Indy TV YouTube channel or on the Cooper Tire Facebook page or any of the channels, those coming over from Rev TV in Canada. What a tremendous season it's been of Road to Indy eSeries racing. And again, big thank you to TireRack.com and Cooper Tires for being such supporters of this tremendous program that kind of gets us through the off season. Of course, we got things started last weekend at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg with some tremendous racing. A little bit of a break, another couple of months right now before we get back at it again. But we have another interview as well. We had a chance, of course, to talk to Sage Karam and James Davison, but get a chance to talk right now to Trey Burke. And Trey, first and foremost, what a fantastic night for you. I know coming off a great weekend at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Kind of back into your wheelhouse, right? You're an oval racer at heart. That's where you came from on the dirt, running 305 and 310 sprint cars. Get a chance to run against your coach as well. Overall, are you pleased with the way things happened this evening?
Oh yeah, thanks for bringing me back here, guys. This race was for sure amazing. I know the whole time it was just smiles, and me and Sage are in the same Discord, so we're laughing the whole time and calling out what we're gonna do before we even do it. And I think that going into the practice, I was kind of noticing it was just going to be a big draft battle. I'd never really done an oval race on, the bigger track with these cars. So it was kind of new to me, but once I figured out the whole aero wash, we were sitting pretty.
Now, obviously, you're running in USF 2000 this year, maybe Indy Pro 2000 next year. That will give you the chance to run World Wide Technology Raceway. Having run it here in the virtual world, you think we can get Sage in a car and you guys can go out and have some fun in the real world as well?
If we got Sage in a car, if we won the lottery and we could get like 2 Indy Pro cars and
right,
me and Sage would just show up and start running, that'd be pretty sweet.
Hey,
I don't know. Sorry, I don't know if he'll do it, but that would be a blast.
It would be a blast. Hey, listen, over the race, it was hard for me to kind of get into some of the stories of our drivers because the action just never stopped, right? We just kept going back and forth. You guys were 2 wide, 3 wide, sometimes 4 wide. But I talked a little bit about, your development as a driver. You came into as a raw rookie into USF 2000 last year, learning the hard knocks kind of deal. You put some different people on the engineering and mechanic side of the program this year with Joe Dueling Autosport. You came out of the gate really, really strongly at St. Petersburg. You were top 10 all weekend long. Just give me your thoughts on last weekend in the real world. It seems like you got off to a really good start to the 2022 season.
Oh yeah, I know. Starting back at last year's Road America is probably where we started to develop the team a little bit more when we brought in Sage and then Matt Curry as well. And they kind of sat me down and said, "Hey, there's the only way through this is getting through the fire." So they kind of told me, you better cowboy up and get on it if you really want to start getting results. And sure enough, all off season, we just really been putting in the work. The entire crew's been getting after it, and it's really paying off here.
Well, listen, man, congratulations again on St. Petersburg and on tonight as well. It was fun. Like, here you are, of course, battling with your coach, but you got a bunch of pros in there as well, right? You got R.C. Enerson, you got Connor Daly, who's, an Indy 500 veteran driver as well. Had a couple of guys in the Road to Indy and USF juniors behind you. That group of 6 in that first race, man, dude, as I told James Davison, I don't think I've ever had to use the oxygen tank during an iRace because that was flipping awesome.
Oh yeah, that was for sure good. The first race, I know we were all excited, and me and Sage, like I said, we were laughing and having a blast. And I told myself, hey, if I get wrecked or something happens, I wouldn't care. I just made my night right there.
Well, listen, man, congratulations again, as I said, on St. Petersburg. Congrats on tonight. And we look forward to seeing you at Barber Motorsports Park in a couple of months.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Rob.
Trey Burke, folks, from Joe Dueling Autosport, again, had a great run at St. Petersburg. And Joshua, this guy was in the fight for the race win all night long. A ton of fun to watch for sure.
And great to see Trey Burke and having him here on the post-race show, and just unfortunately couldn't put it together. And another driver who unfortunately couldn't put it together tonight was Lucas Mann. He's joining us now here in the broadcast booth. And Lucas, up front for both races, and unfortunately not really the results that I think you were looking for to show for it. What were your struggles out there on the track tonight?
Yeah, it was first of all just great racing either way. I mean, honestly, no matter the result, that was just a ton of fun. Um, Race one, it was just super tight at the front. I got a little bit stuck at the back in the dirty air. And I think you sort of needed to be in the front row there at the end to win that. In the second race, I think we were actually running really well. At the time of the incident, I think I was gonna try to make a move for the lead there if I could. So it was super close. I think I was definitely in the hunt there to take the win, but obviously an incident happened that I think was a little bit out of my control, but it's all right. It happens. It was still a ton of fun overall. I haven't done a ton of oval racing, but I think I might need to start doing more now because that was awesome.
Well, a wonderful finish for you here at the virtual Worldwide Technology Raceway. Lucas, thank you for joining us here in the broadcast booth, and we'll hope to see you in the future E-Series and in real life racing as well around Road to Indy.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good to hear from Lucas Mann, of course, Robin. We've seen him up front all season long, and unfortunately, no wins in the win column to really show for what he really did this season.
Let's cap things off now, talking to one of our race directors, Ryan Cobb. Ryan, I'm sure you and Johnny Unser were busy. There was a lot going on. This wasn't one of those races where guys kind of settled in. This felt to me like just 20 minutes of absolute chaos. What was it like in race control?
Yeah, thanks for having me for first off up here, and it was awesome. I mean, we love to see the great racing up there in race control, and I mean, we want to avoid cautions at all costs, but everyone out there just showed how professional they really are, especially for being in the sim world. And some people have lack of experience, but it was just amazing. We were holding our breath collectively a couple times. There was some dodgy moves, but at the end of the day, I mean, I think that is just the absolute best way we could end this season. One of our strongest seasons yet, and the racing was fantastic.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Ryan. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Guys, let's wrap things up here. Joshua, give me your final thoughts. It was, we had it was an interesting program, right? We had a couple of races with our RTA prospects, young drivers trying to work their way into the Road to Indy. We had a couple of races for those Road to Indy drivers as well. Prospects getting a chance to qualify to race against the existing RTI drivers, and of course the Invitational. All in all, it was great to have you in the booth with us this year. I just thought it was great racing all around.
Definitely did not have any slouch of a race, and I'm internally grateful with Alex Simpson, Lee Thompson, everybody at Apex Racing TV for trusting me to be in the booth with you, Rob, and with Greg. It's been an amazing 5-round season, and I'm looking forward to the future of the Road to Indy E-Series, wherever that may take us, and to watch this season of Road to Indy and the Indy Pro 2000s and Indy Lights all around the country this season. I think it's going to be an exciting season in the real world, and we'll have to see where the virtual world will take us. But this season, Alessandro D'Attulia, Mac Clark, Josh Green, Frankie Mosman, and Sage Karam, 5 different winners across 5 different events. Great to see all the drivers coming out and supporting Road to Indy and being here in the E-Series this season.
Yeah, Joshua, we appreciate it, man. Great to have you on board with us. We'll have to get you out to a Road to Indy race when we possibly can. And Greg, let's bring you in to wrap things up here as well. All in all, again, you had a chance to provide us, with your insight to all the racing, all the races we were at. You do a lot of work with Symmetric. You talked about the fact that you're trackside. You're our official trackside simulator, and you had a packed house at St. Petersburg. And I know that a lot of our drivers in the Road to Indy really rely on Symmetric and the trailer you have trackside to get that extra time behind the wheel. Because you know what? In the Road to Indy, it's 5 sessions, right? Practice, qualifying, and a couple of races. What you provide trackside, I think, for at least for a lot of the young drivers that don't get that much seat time, absolutely invaluable.
Yeah, that's what I really built Symmetric for, was giving drivers additional seat time with at a fraction of the cost and with absolutely zero risk involved with what they're doing there. So, yeah, I mean, we know St. Petersburg isn't available on iRacing, but I have it available in the Sim Lab to me. And those drivers, like you said, they only get one 30-minute practice session to get ready all year long, because we all know that you can't go testing on the airport or the street races or the streets there the rest of the year. So, yeah, we do everything we can to make it as valuable as possible in the simulated world, to get drivers as prepared as they can be when they actually strap into the real car. And even when we're talking about tracks that you can go testing it, we're talking about Barber coming up next with the test there in a couple of weeks, and then the race in April. It's still really valuable to get more seat time on race weekends, work through some different scenarios. We'll do qualifying simulations, race simulations. I'll turn the heat onto the drivers. We'll go through full debriefs and everything.
Man,
so
awesome.
we make it as valuable as we possibly can. And like I said, at a very small fraction of the cost, with zero risk in a fully controlled environment.
Now, what do you think about the drivers we had there this year? One of the things, a takeaway that I had was really obviously the strength of the drivers who are our RTI prospects. Now, I know that the prospects, there's the drivers that are kind of working their way up the ranks. Some guys like DeTulio, Matt Clark, they're very proficient in iRacing on the simulator, and they showed extremely well. In this past race, I was really, really impressed with Jason Pribble and Lucas Mann. I thought both those guys got in there and fought with some of the best, and these are drivers we hope to see in USF Juniors here in 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love what we did this year with the prospects and the real Road to Indy drivers, and then this last race, of course, with our alums. I love the mix of the talent, and to see where the talent shines through. The way I look at simulators is a great way to, given a set of conditions, maximize performance as quickly as possible, and that's what we use it as a development tool when we go to the racetrack. But even here, some drivers might say that the cars may not feel right, the track models might be a bit outdated, the risk and the reward factor isn't quite the same, but it's all about optimizing performance with a given set of conditions. And that's the part that's really impressive. So that's where I'm really impressed with what the young drivers who stepped up their game and really delivered this season did.
Yeah, so the last checkered flag in the virtual world here for the TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries presented by Cooper Tires is done. Greg, we already started the season last weekend at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, that traditional opener, the street circuit in St. Pete. Everybody, I think, was so excited to get to the racetrack, finally able to go wheel-to-wheel racing. And now, because that event got pushed into February for IndyCar to be on network TV, which, as we obviously know, worked because the TV numbers were absolutely blown out of the park for IndyCar. We got a 2-month break. We don't get back to the racetrack to go wheel to wheel until Barber Motorsports Park at the end of April, then jumping right into the month of May with the Grand Prix on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course, and then back, of course, to the Carb Night Classic for the Freedom 75 and Freedom 90. We got a break in the action, Greg, but man, once that's done, we go racing for all the way through to Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, as I know we all say that it's a break between now and then, but you and I both have a lot of work to do between now and the test in Barber and then the race weekend in April. But I can't wait to get back at it. Barber is one of my favorite tracks. It's a fantastic track to race on and drive on for these guys. So I'm looking forward to get there. And then, of course, on to the rest of our season.
So that caps things off, folks. We want to thank everyone for tuning in. We really want to thank our pro drivers, our RTI alumni for coming to play with us. Sage Karam, Connor Daly, James Davison, and R.C. Enerson answering the call to come and race against the guys that are where they were, 5 to 10 years ago. So amazing to have them with us. And again, a bunch of Indy 500 starts there. Otherwise, we are done for this year's Road to Indy eSeries. On behalf of everyone from the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, everyone from Apex Racing TV and Extreme Motorsports, and of course, my broadcast partners, Joshua Lee and Greg DeGeorges. Thank you so much for tuning in here, folks. We do appreciate it. My name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.
An important decision is afoot. This man is about to buy tires on TireRack.com. Tire Rack is the leading online retailer of tires in North America and a repository of advice and expert reviews. And it's done! All that's left is to arrange for safe, easy installation at one of our independent recommended installers. Well, I guess he did that too. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.